Rand Paul is a Vaxhole, so he won't get vaccinated, and Big Brother can't tell him to do so. This is a story that's been around. He's quoted some podcast, not ours. Although, he's welcome. If he wants to come on, we'd be more than welcome. Be more than welcome to come on. We'd love to chat with him about his misguided policies. He's quoted in this thing saying, each individual assumes their own risk. And the thing is, if someone chooses not to be vaccinated and you are vaccinated, they're not a risk to you, he said. They're taking a risk for themselves, which, I guess there it is. That's libertarianism, right? In a nutshell. It's just about me. And if it's a risk to me, it doesn't matter as long as it doesn't affect you. But that's that right there, I think, is the inherent flaw of libertarianism. Like, we live in a society, people. It's not just about your decisions and whether they affect you and harm you. And if your decision harms other people, then you need to be, we need to be reconciling that as a society. And that's the thing about not getting vaccinated. So the guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say those who previously contracted the virus should still get vaccinated, as experts do not yet know how long you're protected from getting sick again after recovering from COVID-19, right? And so, if you remember, Senator I got COVID and then didn't tell anyone. Paul got it at that Speed Museum event, I think, then came back to DC, knew that there was a possibility he had it because everyone, that was a hot spot. That was a super spreader event, knew he was there. And then, went swimming in the congressional pool with a bunch of other really old, vulnerable humans, and didn't feel compelled to isolate himself. So yeah, big, constant thread with this guy is he puts himself first, doesn't care about, where he's stacking the lawn refuse, doesn't talk to his neighbor about it. This is a guy who does not care about anyone else. And so this is very much in keeping with his behavior that, of course, he wouldn't get vaccinated, even though his case of COVID was incredibly slight, right? It was like this kind of asymptomatic case. So what does that mean? That means you probably don't have amazing antibodies built up. But, don't take it from me because I'm not a doctor. I'm just some guy on the internet. But there was a wonderful opinion piece by Kavanagh, who's a retired physician from Somerset, and he's the chairman of Health Watch USA. And there's some great quotes in here. What Rand Paul ignores is that the decision to not become vaccinated also affects the health and safety of others, which is what I was alluding to. There's also no doubt that Paul is at risk for reinfection. He's had an asymptomatic or mild illness over a year ago, which was probably caused by the original wild type of virus. Unless he's been repeatedly re-exposed to the virus, he is a sitting duck for COVID-19. And remember, 10 to 20% of those with even mild to moderate disease can develop the devastating effects of long COVID, right? So, this I think captures it very well. And then Dr. Kavanagh goes on to kind of refer vaguely to Rand's frequent fights with actual COVID expert, Dr. Fauci. He says, "I'm sorry, Senator Paul, but the only thing that stood between President Trump and the United States suffering the devastation found in India was Dr. Anthony Fauci." The largest group of individuals not getting the vaccine are Republicans, especially Republican males. Those of you who feel the anti-vaxxers should just suffer the fate and judgment of nature need to remember that infectious diseases will come back to haunt us all, and herd immunity will never be achieved unless our country's vaccination rates increase. That's a really good close to that, because there is a little bit of that, and I try not to be super cynical or too angry or too hateful, but the idea of well, if they don't want to get vaccinated, fine. But no, they don't deserve that, because that will then spread on, right? If we've got enough of a bunch of folks not vaccinated, we allow for more mutations, we allow for different strains that will this will be like the flu, right? It'll just keep coming back every single year with different strains, and they'd have to do boosters, predicting which strain's going to do well. And that's not, that's not ideal. That's not optimal. If we want to get back to normal, get your goddamn vaccine, people. Just do it. They're I'm sorry, there are people who cannot legitimately get vaccinated, right? Because of health conditions. And we can't, okay. So we have to make up for them. We all have to do it. We have to do our part. And Rand Paul, God damn it. do the right thing and get vaccinated. So yeah, that's story number 2 in news of the week. Ken, you have some thoughts you want to share about Rand Paul?
I do. You can't say GD on the radio, and if we ever are on a radio show, you can't say it.
Hey,
anyway,
the question was, do you want to talk about Rand Paul? The question was not, do you need to critique Aaron's commentary about Rand Paul?
Yeah, save it for the after party.
Absolutely. I feel like Rand Paul is all about misinformation, and I feel like a broken record because we talk about this just about every single week. This week he did a super epic meme drop on Facebook about a place called the National Science Foundation. He was, I guess this goes along with, he refuses to listen to what Fauci says, and so he's like attacking science on all fronts. And so he did this super epic meme drop, and his memes are pretty simple. They don't show his work or how he concluded anything. No source links. He posted 9 of these anti-science memes about the agency and the way it spends its money. There are grants for all kinds of things that Rand just doesn't seem to want to understand or question about the world around himself. He seems to want to just live in his own little personal space. Sure, some of the research objectives were quirky or weird, but who didn't watch and enjoy The Men Who Stare at Goats, which I found to be it was kind of an obscure movie that not all of us have seen, but I found that it was good. But anyway, without these kind of random little research projects, we wouldn't have things like computers or the internet, webcams, GPS, radar, flu shots, MRIs, Google touchscreens, different prosthetics, lithium batteries. The list goes on and on and on. We wouldn't be in any kind of space race. We certainly wouldn't have this vaccine. Brand is a jealous, lazy man, as far as I can tell, who likes creating memes and hates having curiosity about science. He has this self-image where he pretends to know it all, and when scientists do research and hard work to make proof of a theory, he gaslights the facts and is confused at why people pick on him. I'm not into victim blaming, but Rand acts like the victim of some conspiracy day in and day out, and he could really do some research. But if he did research, he wouldn't be in the news every day for saying something completely insane and crazy. And, whether or not he's lying about if he's going to take the vaccine or not, I guess we'll find out when he either gets COVID again or doesn't. That's pretty much my take on this. Will he get COVID again? Who knows?
Wait a minute. How much did the National Science Foundation spend on figuring out whether Neil Armstrong said a man or man?
Yeah, $700,000 on. I feel like it's excessive, but I think that.
Well, I mean, it's just unfortunate they couldn't pin it down. Like I would have liked to have a definitive answer on that one.
I bet they developed some kind of software that did a good job of tweaking the frequencies. I'm sure Nate knows all about frequencies and tweaking a voice to make it so you could sound
or at least tweaking.
Tweaking. Yeah, he's definitely tweaking.
Has anyone seen Nate twerk though? That's a whole different thing, and we're gonna save that for the after party, I suppose.
Katie, bar the door.
What about Andy Barr? I hate that guy. All right, so we are gonna move on. We are gonna.